Welcome back, fam. Last time we teased ideas, today we went full formula mode. We covered life force and environment, then zoomed into teams, money, and scaling from $100 to exits. The environment line hit me. Environment dictates performance. Like, damn, that's brutally true. The prison example where entrepreneurship only meant drug deals? Ice cold, man. It's not even about morals first, it's about what people can practically normalize. But I want to push back a bit. Some people still escape that gravity, right? Sure, some do. But the default path is shaped by what's available around you. The social shedding part was so real, though. When you upgrade your life, friends react like you betrayed them. They roast you for dancing classes. Classic identity protection behavior. Dan's D energy, like, bro, your identity is a subscription and it expired. I love how he made it feel scientific. You learn skills inside environments where the skill is normal. That jive dancing story, no way I learned that in 3 months. Then he's doing it end of session. That's the annoying truth. Willpower is worse than proximity to the right norms. And then he connects it to entrepreneurship, an environment problem before it's a hustle problem. He basically said, get into entrepreneur meetups like it's therapy for your future self. And I'm thinking, half those meetups are just vibes and no follow-up though. So the real move is environment plus action plus sales rhythm. Speaking of rhythm, leads, appointments, presentations, sales, measured weekly, that's the nerdy part I loved. 4 steps to 6 figures. Chaos, concept, audience, offer, sales. Sounds like a video game leveling system. But it's coherent. Validate concept, build audience, package offer, then make sales predictable. Then comes the team building part. Business is a team sport, no solopreneur fantasy. I laughed at Swiss Army knives. First you need generalists, later you need specialists. The British military scaling analogy was clean. 2, 4, 8, 30 scouts to platoons. That's what most founders miss. The skills required at 10 are different from 60. Still, I don't fully buy the at 30 some people have to go vibe. Sounds harsh. He did say it's the rebels to professionals transition, like manufacturing value, not just surviving. The 4-suit deck of cards for team roles. Vision, work, connection, money, data. That was kind of brilliant. It's basically entrepreneur cosplay meets accounting reality meets networking propulsion. And the retention logic, connectors without money involvement leak deals forever. I'm glad he said key person of influence too. Brand lead plus operations spine. That's also why personal branding kept coming up. Idea promotion, not look at me. Stop posting avocado toast, spotlight the idea is such a good roast. Meanwhile, everyone's fighting for attention like attention is oxygen. He also argued personal brand is basically permissionless media, no gatekeepers now. And podcasts accelerating brand makes sense because campfires got democratized. The campfire metaphor is perfect for how trust gets built slowly in public. Okay, but let's get to money. He said if you have $100, invest in skills and relationships, not funds. He went, income follows assets, so accumulate assets, skills, brand, databases, culture. Money is relationships, and private bank dinners is the funniest serious flex. $600 account fee to get invited to boat burgers. That's capitalism with seasoning. But the underlying point is deal flow. Relationships are a pipeline multiplier. His cold outreach logic, too. Don't obsess over one no, it's one data point. With or without you energy. Gift a landing page, move on, circle back later. And then he basically says, structure beats intuition when buying or scaling businesses. The portfolio take was interesting. Boring S&P 500 with spare capital, but business creation as the main vehicle. He openly said he hates investing. He's an expansive business builder, not a risk analyst. I liked his distinction. Great investors are pessimist risk people, but his edge is romantic execution. Then the big idea. Not only starting from zero, there's wealth in the 2 to 20 million phase. And the baby boomer arbitrage was wild. 65% of business equity owned by boomers, so transitions are unavoidable. Boring boomer business opportunity, add digitization, reboot culture, restore high watermark. The laundromat Kit King example. Digitize orders, re-engage team. 500% growth in 2 years. No money down management buyout is believable, but the trust assumptions have teeth. True, but he framed it as seller financing. The seller lends via agreed payments secured by the business itself. That's the deal structuring skill he keeps returning to, sales plus structure. And then he drags AI into it. Use ChatGPT for heads of terms drafts and CFO-style structuring prompts. It's like ask the machine to write the negotiation skeleton, then you add the human muscles. The AI part also had that vitality versus functionality framing. AI does functions, humans provide life. And the creator versus consumer split. AI will optimize consumption unless you choose to build. That might be the biggest cultural bet of the decade. Who resists the scroll gravity? We also got the work-life balance angle. Work that builds assets becomes choose your hours freedom. Uber driver versus founder, energy. Same hours, one builds nothing, the other compounds reputation and equity. That sex and relationships question at the end tied it back. Love and connection infuse the function. The it's awkward the next day honesty was refreshingly unfiltered. Honestly, the whole episode kept saying the same thing. Vitality first, then systems. All right, that's a wrap on the series. Thanks for hanging with the chaos and the frameworks. If you want the shortcut, change your environment, build the assets, assemble the right team. Catch you next time. Go build something that still works when you're not in the room. Welcome back, man. This one was the final episode. We went from vitality and environment to teams, assets, money, and choose your hours work. The big through line was basically life force first, then the machine. And somehow the conversation turned into personal brand, but make it idea promoting. Not look at me with my avocado toast, more like come join the mission. I loved that distinction because it killed the cringe instantly. It also makes sense why people feel drained in corporate environments. Like the default office vibe is functional, not alive. And once you notice that, you can't unnotice it. The prison charity story was savage, though. Entrepreneurial spirit, illegal product, illegal mentor. Environment basically kidnaps your ambition and redirects it. But I wonder, are we over-crediting environment and under-crediting individual agency? Because sure, environment dictates performance, but some people still break patterns. True, but even breakers usually found a room where experimentation felt normal. That dance class example hit me weirdly hard. You can't learn the moves outside the environment. Your brain needs the context to catch up. That's such a clean metaphor for entrepreneurship, too. The social shedding part is brutal because your old circle mocks the new identity. That friction is real. People don't just lose you, they feel indicted by you improving. And honestly, it's a good filter for values, not just friendship. Then he zoomed out to the empire shift, geography to digital, rules to cloud. The part about building your own media company around you as permissionless branding, that's the playbook now. I also liked the personal brand isn't dance's jab because everyone misunderstands it. People think it's choreography. It's really broadcasting a viewpoint you can be wrong about and still evolve. Then the episode jumped to the money formula. Earn more because income follows assets. That phrase sounded simple, but it reorganizes your whole strategy instantly. If you want dividends, you need shares. So if you want freedom, what are the assets that create your cash flow? Assets can be skills, databases, culture, even reputation. Digital assets are sneaky. But when people hear assets, they sometimes avoid the uncomfortable part, selling. The episode didn't let them dodge it. Concept, audience, offer, sales. And then the rhythm for sales. Leads, appointments, presentations, sales, measured weekly. That's how you turn vibes into a pipeline without killing the vibe. Also, his team-building British military ladder is oddly reassuring. 2-person scout team, 4-person fire team, 8-person section, then 8 becomes a core team reality check. I liked the recruit over ego idea too. Bring in overings, not underlings. Swiss Army knife early, bread knife later, your career should match the org size. I'm not fully convinced specialization always wins. Some domains still reward generalists. But the team math is undeniable. When you scale, you need depth, not just range. Then we got the 0 to 2 million fun zone confession, speed, chaos, experiments. The moment someone's like, I'm not good at lighting, and hires a specialist at 5 million subscribers. That's humility as a growth strategy, not a personality trait. My favorite career question was, are you Swiss Army knife for startups or bread knife for big teams? And the episode kept tying it back to environment, where you'll actually be useful. The money-making machine part clicked when he talked about work that builds assets. Uber driver energy is 16 hours, then you stop and nothing compounds. Whereas publishing a podcast is living byproduct energy, your effort leaves breadcrumbs. That also reframes work-life balance. It's not fewer hours, it's meaningful creation. You can work insane hours if you're building something that outlives the day you built it. If your labor doesn't create equity, reputation, skills, or systems, it turns toxic. The sex and relationships question at the end was so on theme, too. Love and connection as the vitality infusion into function. Otherwise, it's functional but hollow the next day. And that last bit about AI making you a consumer versus a creator, oof, it's a real fork. Do you think society will genuinely split, or is that just early-stage rhetoric? Even if it's partial, the warning is useful. AI optimizes engagement, not your meaning. You still need context, and humans are great at context. That's vitality again. So the machine isn't the point. The machine is how your vitality scales into assets and teams. All right, that's the wrap on the episode. Thanks for hanging with the frameworks. Shortcut version: change your environment, build assets, and assemble the right people. Catch you next time. Go build something that still works when you're not in the room. Welcome back. This final episode ties vitality to environment, then to money systems. We unpack how you turn ideas into assets, teams, and scalable revenue, plus the AI creator or consumer trap. The big through line was, performance is downstream of your environment. Like, not motivation, environment literally dictates what you think is normal. That prison story is savage because the product they see is drugs. But it also implies people aren't weak. Their options are just constrained. Exactly. Entrepreneurial spirit exists, but it routes through whatever is socially reinforced. If your rise friend is a drug dealer, your entrepreneurship gets a criminal subscription. And that's why change environments for an hour a week sounded almost too simple. So you go from "I can't do that" to "oh, this is normal" just by proximity. The dance class example was wild. He basically rewired his identity in 2 hours. But I wonder how much of that is skill acquisition versus belief. It's both, but belief seems like the gatekeeper that decides whether you even try. Because he goes in expecting failure, then leaves doing the routine, panic to competence. And then comes social shedding, which sounds dramatic but feels real. Your old circle starts roasting you, not because they hate you, because you're leaving their mirror. Misery loves company, and your new identity is an embarrassing spotlight. I like that he framed it as, do you want to keep playing the old rules? Which was the whole empire shift thing, geography to digital values and purpose. It's basically courage plus community, move from local tribes to global alignment. And personal brand gets demystified, less look at me, more idea promotion. I'm always wary of branding talk because people can turn it into ego cosplay. But the distinction was good. Self-promotion is vanity, idea promotion is leadership. So the question becomes, are you sending signals of what you're up to, or begging to be applauded? Don't look at me, look at this is a vibe I actually want more of. Then the episode pivots hard into teams and hiring, which is where money becomes real. I love that military team size progression, 2, 4, 8, 30, like a scaling law. Swiss Army knife early, then specialists later, bread knife energy at 50 people. And he said most people struggle with environment adjustment as the company scales. Yeah, because at 10 people you need breadth. At 60 you need depth. Your strengths get sorted. That's career advice too. Are you built for startups or built for scaling orgs? And then the portfolio stuff, boring but systematic, S&P 500, because beating it isn't the point. He basically says, I hate investing, so I'll invest in the index and stop thinking. But the deeper point was, he creates businesses as the real wealth engine. That income follows assets principle was a clean explanation of why skill and assets beats hustle. Income follows assets means if you want cash flow, you need owned things, skills, brands, databases, culture. Like company cultures is an asset sounds poetic until you realize it's retention and performance. Also, he took $100 a month and made it about relationships, not stocks. One dinner for a meaningful mentor connection is more leverage than $100 into chaos. Still, it depends. Some people have no network hygiene and just donate money to awkward lunches. True, but he gave a filter. Send value, research them, and don't take silence personally. The with or without you energy, cold outreach shouldn't become self-worth training. I liked that he expected 2-3 replies from a targeted VIP push, not magic conversion miracles. Then he dropped the core formula: chaos, concept, audience, offer, sales. That's the ladder into 6 figures, then team building and digitizing everything at 8 people. I'm not sure every startup can digitize absolutely everything, but the direction is correct. The point is, turn personal effort into systems, so growth doesn't depend on your availability. And that ties to the work-life balance bit. Work that creates assets eventually buys you freedom. Uber driving can be brutal because it's income without asset growth. 16 hours, same ceiling. Whereas podcasts, renovation, equity, all create a byproduct that keeps paying later. That's the money-making machine idea. Vitality becomes content, teams, and repeatable assets. And then AI enters like an iceberg warning. Everyone is dancing like unsinkable. The real risk he warned about is you become a creator-consumer loop, optimized for consumption time. The fork is, do you use AI to build context and produce, or let AI use you as feedstock? It's not that AI kills creativity, it just gives you the option to outsource thinking endlessly. Humans are great at context. AI is great at content. Context still needs vitality. So the machine can write the sentence, but it can't pick the meaning without a human steering wheel. And that's where the team sport argument lands. 5 people beating 1 through shared context. One-person billion-dollar business might happen, but repeatable execution usually needs teams. Because context is social, conversation among builders creates direction, then AI scales the output. So the episode loops back. Environment builds vitality. Vitality builds assets. Assets fund freedom. And if you don't engineer your environment, you'll accidentally engineer your stagnation. My final takeaway is embarrassingly actionable. Go to 1 new room this week. Then assemble a team, build an offer, sell it predictably, and digitize the value. That's how you make the money-making machine run, even when you're not in the room. All right, that's our end for this series. Thanks for riding with us for both episodes. If you take one thing, change your environment, then build assets and teams that scale. Catch you next time. Go build something that still works when you're not in the room. Welcome back, man. Episode 2 is the finale of this whole thread. We tied vitality and environment to performance, then mapped the money machine, assets, teams, and systems. I can't stop thinking about that line. Environment dictates performance. Like, it's not manifest harder, it's wake up your inputs. Yeah, because your brain is basically a resonance device, bro. And the scary part is stagnation isn't usually chosen, it's inherited. People get institutionalized. Same city, same job, same conversations. The episode's argument was almost biological. Life force gets suppressed to stay functional. Okay, but let's push it. Can you really find vitality just by changing rooms? I think you can start there, but yeah, you still gotta do the work inside. The dance class example was so perfect, though. No way he learns it outside that environment. You can't do it outside the environment is such an undefeated point. And the concept of social shedding felt painfully real. Like your friends mock your new identity because they'd rather you remain familiar. Misery loves company, but with better branding now. That's why entrepreneurship isn't just skills. It's access to people who normalize risk and action. The episode kept repeating, you don't become entrepreneurial in a vacuum. So where do you even find these environments? Just entrepreneur meetups? Online events? Mentors? I've been to some meetups, though. Half of them are cosplay ambition. True, but even then, the algorithm might connect you to one real person. That's the whole compounding idea. One interaction can retune your frequency. Then it jumped to money, and I loved how it refused to romanticize investing. He goes, I hate investing, and suddenly we're all emotionally free. But the structure was clean. Income follows assets. Like assets are whatever creates income without you babysitting it forever. That's the mind shift. People think money is for buying time, but it's really for buying leverage. And buy more skills counts as an asset if it compounds your options. I also liked the money is relationships angle, private bank dinners as an ROI strategy. He basically turned a $600 account into a networking engine. That's gangster productivity. But you've got to be careful. Relationships without integrity can get gross fast. Yes, the asset isn't the card, it's the trust you earn and the deals you can do ethically. Still, the $100-month dinner challenge was hilarious and surprisingly practical. The play is, take a few accomplished, non-famous people out, ask good questions, create momentum. And then we got into personal branding, which I feel like always gets misunderstood. Because the internet turns idea promotion into look at my avocado. Exactly. He reframed it. Personal brand isn't self-promotion, it's perspective promotion. Don't look at me, look at this is honestly the whole creator economy distilled. And podcasting accelerating personal brand made sense. Campfire effect, democratized elite conversations. It's like people used to whisper these frameworks behind closed doors, now they're searchable. Then the money machine part came. Chaos, concept, audience, offer, sales. I loved that it's not mystical. Those first stages are measurable behaviors. And sales rhythm, leads, appointments, presentations, sales, weekly pipeline measurement. Okay, but people hate measuring sales because it forces honesty. Honesty is painful, so we call it anxiety and then avoid it. After that, team building. The Brit military scaling numbers actually stuck. 2-person scouts, 4-person fire team, 8-person section, then 30-person platoon. That Swiss Army knife to specialists shift felt real too. At 10, you need versatility. At 60, you need depth. Bread knife cuts bread, right? Everyone's mad until they're the bread. And he said a key thing. At 10 people, most early hires can't adjust to the new environment. That's the silent killer. People hiring for the startup chaos, then demanding corporate polish. So then the question for careers, are you a specialist or a Swiss Army knife? I've learned it's not identity, it's placement and timing. And the episode gave a pathway. 0 to 200K tests, 200K to 2 mir traction, 2 mir to 20 mir professionalization. He basically argued different people are built for different stages, and that's okay. That's like admitting you're not the lighting guy at 5 million subscribers. Humility, but make it a business strategy. Outsource your weakness. Overings versus underlings. Hire people better than you in their lane. That was the vibe. The conductor can't play all instruments, but can recruit the orchestra. Then there was the wildest opportunity angle. Baby boomer businesses and management buyouts. Wait, you can buy a business with essentially no money down through seller financing? Yeah, the owners get paid over years. The business secures the deal structure. That's not effortless, though. Deal structuring and execution skill are everything. Which brings us to the 2 core skills, sales and structuring the deal. So the money-making machine is context, environment, assets, teams, then systems that digitize value. And the best part, the work becomes an asset with a life of its own. That's why work-life balance gets reframed. Work that builds assets beats grind forever. If you're just performing roles, you can go 16 hours and still be broke inside. But if your work creates income plus assets, you're basically choosing your future. All right, last thing I want to say is vitality isn't a mood, it's an engineered system. Series wrap. Change your environment. Build assets and teams, and let the machine run when you step away. That's it for this series. Thanks for riding with us for both episodes. If you take one thing, make it this. Go build something that still works when you're not in the room. Welcome back. Last time we talked growth. This time it's money and energy in the same machine. We wrapped Daniel Priestley's idea. Vitality, environment, teams, then building assets that print value. I keep thinking about that line. Environment dictates performance. Like you can have the same ambition, but if the room is wrong, you'll still stagnate. But isn't that a little too neat? Like, people still have agency, right? Agency exists, sure, but it's hard to find agency in a low-vitality ecosystem. And that prison story, entrepreneurs exist, but they only see illegal products as the path. That's wild because the entrepreneurial spirit is there. The environment just warps the channel. It's like giving someone a rocket, but the launch pad is cursed with the wrong gravity. He also made life force sound practical, not mystical. Like vitality is what you're broadcasting back to yourself when you're in the right room. I love the dance class example, how competence becomes normal inside the environment. Exactly, you don't learn outside, you learn where the behavior is expected. Still, people can self-create communities online. True, but self-created is still an environment. You curate it until it starts shaping you back. And the social shedding part that felt uncomfortably accurate. The moment you build a personal brand, your circle acts like you betrayed the tribe. Dan's a ballet dancer energy, identity policing in joke form. Because if you change, it implies something about them, and nobody wants that mirror. So the bigger move is shifting to a global, value-based community instead of geography-based rules. Translation: quit living like it's 3000 BC, join the cloud. And once you're in the cloud, personal brand is basically idea promotion, not look at me. The self-promotion award selfie contrast was brutal in a good way. The way he framed podcasts as a campfire, people actually gather to listen, not stalk. It's democratized high-level conversation, like those chats that used to be locked behind doors. Okay, let's talk money, because he basically made it a systems topic too. Income follows assets is such a simple principle, but it changes how you plan everything. He treats digital stuff like assets too, brand, database, even company culture. Culture as a balance sheet item is my favorite new heresy. But will people actually execute on that? Like, do they understand asset building? He's pretty clear. If you only have $100, don't invest it. Deploy it into skills or relationships. And his $100 a month dinner idea, relationship investment as the fastest asset multiplier. Not the yacht. The dinner's on the boat, so the real asset is attention and trust. That also ties to the cold outreach thing. Value first, don't spiral if nobody replies. People think ignoring them is rejection, but sometimes it's just timing and bandwidth. His with or without you angle was funny, though. Keep shipping offers to the right people. And it's basically a probability game. You need volume, but with taste. Also, his investing stance was hilarious. He claims he hates investing, loves business creation. Just put available capital into the S&P 500 is the most unsexy wealth plan ever. Then he spends all his emotional energy on building things other people want chips in. That's a super important distinction. Don't just allocate capital, make something investable. Then he gives the whole journey: chaos, concept, audience, offer, sales. And he's adamant about predictability. Measure leads, appointments, presentations, conversions. It's like turning vibes into a weekly dashboard without killing the creativity. After that, team building becomes the second engine. Key person of influence, then the 8-person core. I did like his 4 suits model, but is it real or just a useful metaphor? Even if it's a metaphor, the behavior requirement is real. Vision, execution, connection, finance, data. Otherwise, you get the connector who can't retain money, or the visionary who can't ship. And the Swiss Army knife versus bread knife shift as headcount grows felt instantly recognizable. Early stage needs generalists, later stage needs specialists who cut cleanly and fast. His hiring environment match idea is basically find people who can adapt to the new rules as you scale. That's why the jump from 12 to 30 is nasty. Too big to be small, too small to be big. And then digitize everything: CRM, IP, culture, systems, governance, online marketing. He's obsessed with revenue per person rising by stacking digital assets. Revenue becomes a math problem, but the inputs are human values and processes. The AI part was interesting too. Vitality still matters even when AI handles functionality. AI can fill gaps, but it needs context, and humans provide meaning and life force. And the warning: AI will happily turn you into a consumer if you don't choose to create. So you either become the generator, or you become the dopamine delivery system. That's why his work-life balance framing landed. Work that creates assets plus income changes your life. Compare that with Uber driver-style labor. Long hours, no accumulating compounding value. The asset test is the simplest filter. Does your work create something that survives you? If it doesn't, you're basically renting your time from tomorrow. And if it does, you're building a money-making machine that keeps running. That's the series thesis right there. Vitality, environment, teams, assets, then compounding. Series wrap. Change your environment, build assets and teams, and let the machine run while you step away. That's it for this series. Thanks for riding with us for both episodes. If you take one thing, make it this: go build something that still works when you're not in the room. Welcome back, yes. This final episode ties vitality, environment, and money into one loop. We covered how environments shape performance, why teams and digital assets compound, and how money follows assets. Also, the whole personal brand thing got demystified into idea promotion, not selfie promotion. But let's start messy. What hit you hardest in that conversation? The environment dictates performance line felt like a cheat code. Because it means you can't mental math your way out of a bad room. Like prisons with entrepreneurs, but the only product is illegal. Still true mechanics. That example was brutal, but it made the point. Your normal gets outsourced to your surroundings. And then he goes, change your environment for an hour or two a week, which sounds too simple. I mean, does it actually move the needle, or is it motivational cosplay? It worked in the dance class story, though. He literally couldn't imagine learning outside it. So the claim is, you don't just need motivation, you need permission embodied by others. Permission is wild, like motivation is I can, but environment is it's allowed. That connects directly to vitality versus functionality, right? Vitality is life force, and functionality is keep the system running. And corporate jobs are often just high-effort functionality with dead vitality. You're paid, you're productive, but you feel like your soul clocked out. The social shedding part was the most real, though. Your friends roast you when you level up. Misery loves company, identity holds you hostage, all of that. Which is why building a personal brand can trigger social friction. But I have a pushback. Not every friction is haters. Sometimes you're just actually wrong. True, but the point wasn't ignore feedback, it was don't confuse growth with rejection. And then he reframed personal brand as idea promotion, like come join the mission. Not look at my avocado toast with chili flakes. God, that line was accurate. The best creators don't beg for attention. They point to the thing worth thinking about. That campfire vibe at the end, democratized high-level conversations, feels true too. Like what used to be behind-doors capital and strategy talk is now a podcast rant. And that leads to money. Because the financial part wasn't just investing, it was asset creation. Income follows assets was the cleanest framework in the whole episode. It's annoying how often people skip that and jump straight to what stock should I buy. What assets count, though? He talked about brands, databases, culture even. Exactly. Digital assets and relational assets are still assets. But can relationships really be formalized and owned? He didn't mean you own people like property. He meant you own leverage through access and trust. The private bank Denter story was the proof. 600 bought him a network pipeline. Burgers on the Boat sounds like a luxury novel, but it was basically deal flow engineering. And his $100 month idea, one dinner with one interesting accomplished person, now that's practical optimism. Where I loved it was the cold outreach doesn't have to work once logic. People treat one ignored message like a referendum on their entire destiny. He treated it like a numbers game with intent. Send, learn, iterate, move on. And then the episode zoomed into structure, chaos, concept, audience, offer, sales. I like that it says you can reach 6 figures just by nailing the first 4 in order. Then team building. He basically refuses solopreneur mythology. There is no one-person entrepreneur is such a spicy way to say need partners. The deck of cards suits idea, vision, work, people, money, or data was actually elegant. It's like you're not hiring people, you're balancing a deck so the business can play cards. And once you hit 8 people, everything gets digitized. CRM, IP, culture, processes. That's the moment where work stops being heroic and starts being replicable. So the core thesis becomes, build a money-making machine, not just a job. I can't believe the episode used money-making machine energy for both strategy and sex advice. But the vitality versus functionality lens actually connects everything: relationships, work, and AI usage. Speaking of AI, he basically said AI is great at content but not context. Which means humans still need to decide the why, not just generate the what. And he warned AI will turn you into a consumer by default unless you choose creator mode. Otherwise, you'll spend 16 hours scrolling and call it learning. So where does your career fit in that? Swiss Army knife or bread knife specialist? That part was a direct mirror. Startups need generalists early, specialists later. And he said hiring gets different at 10 people than at 30 because the required chaos changes. He even framed it like first 4 stages chaos concept audience offer sales, then professionalization. The 2 to 20 million jump story made me rethink finding your lane inside business growth. Also, the Jack hiring a lighting expert at 5 million subscribers moment. Humility as leverage. That's overings, not underlings. Bring in people who are better than you at the thing. Then he closed with boring businesses and management buyouts, like wealth creation without inventing from scratch. That baby boomer arbitrage argument is wild. 65% of equity locked there, so succession creates opportunity. And the underlying move was digitize, re-engage team, modernize brand, fresh energy plus systems. It's basically same engine, new cockpit, and you still get compounding returns. Okay, now I want to land the plane on the asset test again. Does what you're doing create something that survives you, or is it just performed labor? If it survives, you're building the money-making machine. If not, you're renting tomorrow. Final wrap energy. Vitality shapes performance. Environment shapes vitality. Assets shape income. Teams shape assets. And if you do that right, you can step away while the machine keeps running. That's it for this series. Thanks for riding with us for both episodes. If you take one thing, go build something that still works when you're not in the room.